Hi, Dr. Jill Crista here. Just went on my morning walk and my brain won't stop. There are so many things that I've learned that I want to share with my family and my friends. And I thought, well, why don't I just post it here and then you guys can get the information too. By saying that though, you do need to realize that these are things I'm recommending for myself and my family. This is not medical advice. I'm not your doctor. But information's changing really fast. So here's what I've learned. It does seem that if you have had it, it's going to confirm immunity, meaning you do get a Th2 response, which usually involves becoming immune to whatever it is that you've had. We don't know how long that's going to last, how long that immunity lasts, and we don't know how fast this baby is going to mutate. So once it mutates, then you're no longer immune to it because it's different proteins, different critter. I'm sure you've heard about half of the positive tests on the cruise ship were asymptomatic carriers. We don't have any data, though, to know that if they got sick after they were tested. And let's talk about testing. There are two different ways of testing, kinds of testing. The testing that's being done now in the nose is to see if you are actively sick, but we still do not have tests that show if you've been sick and conquered it. That is an antibody test. That's a blood test. You can do that through finger pricks, and there is a lab, Vibrant Wellness, that I'm working with, that they have created that test, but there are some FDA hang-ups, so watch for that. I'll post as soon as that's available because I think that's really important. Now, it's important also to know how this is different from a cold or influenza. Those are things that once we are exposed to them, it triggers knowledge in the body that then shuts the door to more virus invading or soaking into cells. What's different about this is that our body can't close the door to it. We don't have an adaptation yet to this that we can close the door. Meaning, every amount of virus you are exposed to, your body has to deal with. Now, if you've already been exposed and you mounted an antibody response, and maybe it was even really mild and asymptomatic, you still have to deal with it, but you already have antibodies that know what to do with the virus once it soaks in. But I just want to let you know that. So it is really important, this social distancing, and we would need to starve the virus because every amount that's shed from another person or that you pick up on a surface or something like that, your body has to deal with. It can't shut the door. Okay, there is evidence that is being published that shows that virus sheds in the stool up to 12 days after infection and after it's cleared or undetected in the respiratory passages. So if you are sick from it and you get better, still be ultra careful about washing hands. Don't just assume that, oh, I've had it, I'm good, because you could be making other people sick for up to 12 days from the time that your respiratory passages test clear. Do not take ibuprofen. You guys have probably heard this. It causes problems with the lungs filling up with fluid. Do not take ACE inhibitors for blood pressure. If you're on one, please contact your doctor and ask for a replacement. There's some evidence that shows that selenium might be a bad idea for you supplement people because of its action on stimulating ACE, which is involved in those ACE inhibitor drugs. Let's see. Soap is more effective than alcohol-based sanitizers in most cases. This is a single enveloped virus, which means a little bit of emulsification with soap basically undoes it from the outside, from the membrane. So if you can't find hand sanitizer, don't freak out. Like, use soap. So how we're doing this in my family is at home we're using soap, and then when I run to the grocery store, I bring hand sanitizer, put it in my pocket. Once I'm done at the grocery store, I hand sanitize before I open my car door and put my groceries in, that kind of thing. And then when I get home, wash the soap, wash down everything, all of that. Okay. Hope you're hanging in with me. I'm sorry for this long video, but I just have so much to share with you. Okay, where to go to get good information? The CDC, Johns Hopkins, both have websites that are really great and giving the most updated information. An interview that I found incredibly helpful was Dr. Tina Moore interviewing Dr. Heather Zwicky. That's on Instagram and also on Dr. Tina Moore's Pain Free Strong radio. Okay, in the old days, in the plague, do you remember they used to wear these hoods that looked like a bird? They had like a big beak. Why did they do that? They stuffed herbs in it. Good old herbs. And that conferred protection to the healthcare workers. So what they used to stuff in those things We have all manner of different aromatic herbs. So if it's an herb that smells, which means it's probably an herb we cook with, that can be something that can help protect your respiratory passages. If it's similar to the plague, we don't know. But I am going to go ahead and take some safety measures on that. And if there is any time where I'm needing to mask up for anything, I'm using essential oil of thyme. I put a drop on the mask. Also sweet Annie or Artemisia annua was used in those days. Frankincense, myrrh, cloves, rosemary, sage, basil, any aromatic herb. I think from the essential oil research that I have done on mold, it makes sense because these essential oils are multi-antimicrobial. Okay, established as helpful for influenza are the following supplements that I'm recommending for my family. Again, this is not medical advice. I'm just sharing the information. My family were taking vitamin A, a minimum of 100 IUs a week. Vitamin D, we are trying to keep everybody up to 80 nanograms per milliliter on labs. Now, obviously, you can't test lab right now. So for myself and my family, we're taking about 10,000 IUs every day of vitamin D. Those two are fat soluble and they do store, so you have to be careful how much of it you take. But you know, when your body is fighting an infection, it's been shown that your utilization of the fat soluble vitamins and vitamin C goes up immensely. So another thing, I'm for my family, vitamin C, 1 gram 4 times a day minimum. If you're sick, you go up by 1 gram per hour that you're awake until bowel tolerance, which means keep taking a gram of it until you get diarrhea. Our utilization of vitamin C, one cold, can use 23 grams of vitamin C, one event of a cold. So vitamin C gets depleted big time, and there is some data out of China showing that IV vitamin C kept people out of respiratory crisis. Okay, bitters. I highly recommend that you guys check my other video on bitters in the lungs. Bitters bitters stimulate bile. And you know, I'm a bilophile, I'm into bile. So bile is a necessary component of surfactant. Surfactant protects the lungs in 3 different ways, 3 different mechanisms. But one of the most important things is that it helps to tag offenders. So we talked about the fact that the body can't close the door. The next game for the immune system is to tag it as quickly as possible and know that it's offender. So bitters, stimulating bile, stimulating surfactant is important. And nobody's talking about bile, so spread the word, bile. So in the other video, I had said we're taking with our 2 largest meals of the day, taking bitters. Propolis is showing some clinical evidence that it's protective. Melatonin is also, there's some clinical information about that, experiential information, and especially for my family member with asthma, you know who you are. They're recommending, or what was used clinically successful in the cases that I've heard, is 50 grams taken at bedtime, and then if you're sick, take another 20 2 times that during the day. So that's what's being used. We use 20 to 50 grams at night safely with cancer treatment. So elderflower is showing some efficacy. There's debate about elderberry, elderflower, and whether that causes cytokine storm. None of that has been shown to be true. So I'm trying to be very careful about my language, because we don't have human clinical studies, but I'm scanning in my head anything that I have heard from colleagues who are treating patients, and so far they're finding it the opposite, that it's actually improving immunity. Andrographis and Artemisia are also, now look at what that is. Andrographis and Artemisia are both called the king of the bitters. They're in competition for that. So, what's going on there? Okay, they both have antimicrobial action, but they're also extremely bitter. Get that bile going. If you don't have anything and you're stuck at home, there's some evidence. There's some clinical success with cinchona and the mechanism that works there. So what about tonic water? I mean, might as well just add it because it's not going to hurt. That's the nice thing about these plants, is that I can kind of willy-nilly recommend these to my family, because many of them don't have, it's not drugs, you know, we don't have scary side effects. Not that herbs don't have side effects, but you know, these are plants. I know my family, and I know what they have going on. And these are plants that I would have no concern, and nutrients that I've had no concern recommending to my family. Okay, it's shown that when people get sick, they start dumping potassium. So if you're on a potassium medication, check in with your doctor on that. Potassium sparing medication, or potassium wasting medication. That's usually blood pressure medication, so check in with your doctor. And if you are, consider a switch. Foods that are high in potassium are cucumber, avocado, basically green vegetables. There's a recipe in my book called Beeler's Broth that is incredibly high in potassium. And lastly, hum. I love this. Humming. So I'm talking really fast because I'm about to go to the TFIM Conference. That's the Forum for Integrative Medicine. If you're a practitioner watching and you don't know about this conference, you need to go to it. The 4 speakers yesterday were... Yesterday, Dr. Klinghardt gave some information about humming. Humming, the vibration of humming increases nitric oxide in the sinuses. When that happens, that affects the inflammasome. You're going to hear, if you listen to that interview with Dr. Zwicky on Tina Moore's podcast, inflammasomes, it's like our microbiome. It's like the inflammatory immune response in our body. By humming, you impair, it becomes nitric oxide, it helps to become a potent antiviral locally. So that's where we get our first exposure. You guys know I talk about sinuses all the time with mold. I just think that's so cool that it basically acts as an anti-inflammatory and an antiviral by humming. So my new thing after I go to the grocery store is I hum all the way back to the car. I hum during the grocery store. And yeah, so I'm going to be the crazy singing lady. But you know what? I'm trying to stay healthy. Okay, I hope this is helpful. I love all of you. Bye.